Okay, let's do a deep dive today. We're looking at Job chapter 27. This is where Job himself is speaking, right in the thick of his suffering and that whole intense debate with his
It
friends.
really jumps out at you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Job's absolute, almost, well, fierce insistence on his own integrity.
Hmm.
Even though he feels God has, treated him unfairly, he starts with this incredibly strong statement.
He does. He swears, as surely as God lives, the one he says denied him justice. And he vows, like, as long as he's breathing, his lips won't speak wickedness or deceit.
Mhm.
He says it point blank. I will never admit you are in the right till I die. I will not deny my integrity.
And that line about his conscience.
Right. My conscience will not reproach me as long as I live. It's just an unwavering stand, really, his innocence.
And then, well, this is what's so interesting. Right after declaring how blameless he is, he just pivots, completely changes track. He starts describing in really vivid detail what he thinks happens to the wicked, the godless.
Yeah, that shift is pretty dramatic. He asks, almost rhetorically, what hope has the godless when he's cut off? Or does God listen to his cry when distress comes? It feels quite pointed.
It really makes you ask, okay, why this focus?
Yeah.
Why, right now, after defending himself so strongly,
Mm.
is he trying to contrast his own situation? Like, see, this is what happens to the wicked, not me.
Or maybe teaching his friends something, suggesting this is what should happen to people who are truly wicked, which he insists he isn't.
Could be. It's definitely a powerful way to frame it.
And the picture he paints of their downfall.
Ooh.
Wow. It's terrifying. He says he'll teach about God's power, the Almighty's ways, basically saying his friend's view is just meaningless talk.
Right. And then the specifics. The ruthless man's kids, facing the sword, offspring starving.
Survivors buried by plague, and nobody even mourns them. It's bleak.
And think about the wealth angle, especially coming from Job, who's lost everything.
Mhm.
He says they might pile up silver like it's dust, or clothes like clay,
Ugh.
fountains of it. But the righteous end up wearing it, end up with the silver. It doesn't last for the wicked.
Their security is like a moth's cocoon, he says. So fragile.
Or a watchman's hut. Just temporary shelter.
And the end comes so fast, he lies down rich one night.
Wakes up, all is gone. Just like that.
Terrors snatch him away, tempests, this east wind, it just sweeps him off.
No mercy. Hurled out of his place. And that image of the wind clapping its hands in derision. It's almost mocking.
It's a brutal, sudden, complete destruction he's describing.
So you have the two things side by side. Job shouting, I am innocent, my conscience is clear.
Mm-hmm.
And then immediately describing this horrific end that God supposedly brings upon the wicked and the ruthless.
Yeah. The core thing here seems to be the profound irony he's living through, the perceived injustice. He's going through exactly the kind of suffering he himself says is the punishment for the wicked.
Uh-huh. Even though he's holding tight to his innocence, it just throws the central problem of the book into sharp relief, doesn't it? His experience just doesn't line up with the neat categories his friends, and maybe even Job himself, based on this believe in, about divine justice.
Right. He's almost saying, look, this is what happens to the guilty, so why is it happening to me?
He's using their own framework, their own understanding of justice, to show how it seems to be failing in his specific case.
It really shows how deep that disconnect felt for him between his reality and how he thought God operated.
So this passage, Job 27, it just lays it all bare. His unwavering claim to righteousness right next to his picture of judgment for the wicked. It forces you, the listener, to sit with that contradiction.
And here's something for you to think about. If Job truly believes this terrible, inescapable fate is what God dishes out specifically to the wicked, what does his absolute refusal to back down on his own integrity, even while suffering that very fate, tell us about his view of God, his view of himself, or maybe even his view of his friends who keep implying he's the wicked one?